Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer worked for North Pole Logistics, LLC, formerly known as Santa's Workshop, before the merger with every major shipping company on Earth. On paper, it was still whimsical. Snowflakes, candy canes, a suspicious number of unpaid interns in elf hats. In practice, it was a 24/7 global fulfillment center powered by cocoa, fear, and a fragile supply chain held together by twine and vibes. Rudolph's job title, according to HR, was Junior Sleigh Propulsion Associate, seasonal, no benefits. According to literally everyone else, he was that reindeer with the OSHA violation for a face, because Rudolph's nose glowed, not just a polite little twinkle. It was a full-on emergency beacon, red, bright, and humming like a tiny nuclear reactor of shame. It lit up the snow, it lit up the conference room, it lit up the bathroom under the stall door. That last one had resulted in 3 formal complaints labeled privacy concerns and one anonymous suggestion he learn to turn it off like a normal person. He could not. That's the thing about being born different. It doesn't respond to meeting requests. The other reindeer didn't let him join in their games, but not because they were naturally cruel. They had policy. Blitzen had forwarded the email from HR. Due to Rudolph's ongoing optical anomaly, his participation in high-speed aerial activities constitutes a visual distraction and potential safety hazard for the sleigh team. "We're just following the rules," Dasher told him, shrugging. "We'd totally include you if we could." "Yeah," added Prancer. "Have you tried submitting another ADA request?" "Oh, I did," Rudolph said. "They sent me a visibility dampener." It was basically a corporate-approved paper bag with a logo on the side. The lawyer said it counts as a reasonable accommodation. The bag fuzzed around his nose. Light bled through anyway, turning the logo into a neon sign, "Property of Santa." Rudolph tried to stay in his lane. He clocked in, pulled crates, signed the elf safety compliance quiz every quarter. The bullying wasn't even original. It was just modern. The other reindeer had a group chat named Sleigh Team, No Randos, that included everyone but him. They posted unflattering photos of Rudolph mid-sneeze with captions like, "POV, the emergency exit sign grew legs." Another one said, "Tag your brightest friend who still doesn't get promoted." One elf intern, Junie, was bored, furious at capitalism, and one bad latte away from unionizing the whole workshop. She filmed Rudolph in the break room, his nose blazing because he was anxious. She uploaded the clip to Elf Talk with the caption, "When your coworker has a disability and management calls it a branding concern instead of making accommodations. Hashtag North Pole problems, hashtag ableism, hashtag let Rudy lead." The video exploded. Suddenly the comments flooded in, "OMG, protect him at all costs." This is why I stopped believing in Santa, TBH. Rudolph deserves a promotion and a weighted blanket. Overnight, hashtag let Rudy lead trended. By morning, PR's inbox looked like the aftermath of a Black Friday stampede. Santa had no idea what was happening. The fat old man didn't read his own email. Santa had elves for that. That morning, he sat at the head of a long candy cane-striped conference table while crisis management projected charts. Brand sentiment is down 12% among Gen Z and up 300% among anarchists on TikTok, an elf reported. "Is that bad?" Santa asked, sipping hot fudge out of a coffee mug. "Sir, they're making memes about you." Santa frowned. "I didn't raise the rent. I didn't invent student loans." The PR elf sighed. "Modern audiences don't care about nuance, they care about vibes." "Fine," Santa said. "Schedule a listening session. We'll do restorative justice. We'll do diversity stuff." One elf nodded furiously, typing diversity stuff into the official Santa action plan. "And get me the glowing one," Santa added. "What's his name, Ruby?" "Rudolph, sir." "Write him, bring him in. He caused this mess." So they brought him in and put him in a suit and gave him a fancy title. They didn't say diversity hire, of course. They called it elevating marginalized voices. They called it celebrating unique gifts. They called it chief illumination officer. They designed a badge with his face on it and printed posters that said, "Glow with us." The PR campaign took the whole office by whirlwind. Their angle? At North Pole Logistics, we don't just tolerate differences, we celebrate them. Rudolph sat in the conference room, staring at a mock-up of his own cartoon face, nose glowing like a warning siren. "So," he said, "am I actually going to be leading the sleigh team, or is this just for the holiday newsletter?" "Oh, you'll be in front of everything." "I don't know about the team," Santa explained, "but this is very inspirational imagery. We'll do a whole campaign, a docuseries, Rudolph from misfit to marketable." Rudolph winced. "I didn't ask to be your redemption arc." Santa's smile wavered. "Well, kid, nobody asks to be a symbol." And with that, Rudolph's face was plastered on every corner of the North Pole. This went on for a very, very long time. Rudolph had no real job other than to smile and act like people were including him, so Santa didn't lose followers and kept up his like ratio. That is until they needed him. On December 24th at 11:58 p.m., the sky over the North Pole dropped like a curtain. It wasn't a cute snowfall. It was climate change having a breakdown. Blizzard, ice storm, fog so thick the elves at the loading dock couldn't see their candy cane stockings. Satellite navigation went out first, then backup radar, then the experimental partnership with UPS crumpled. The North Pole power grid flickered, sighed, and died. The workshop plunged into black and red. The exit signs and Rudolph's nose were the only things visible. Santa's smartwatch started screaming emergency alerts. The dashboard in the sleigh blinked, "No signal." Global children's expectations loomed like an unpaid invoice. For the first time in centuries, Santa looked truly panicked. "We can't delay," he muttered. "If the kids wake up, the magic breaks. That's in the terms of service." "Sir," said a logistics elf, "we can't see—" "And the reindeer?" "Well, they can't fly blind." "The risk assessment, sir." Santa shook his head, fear swelling in the pit of his stomach. "Santa!" a meek Rudolph squeaked out, and then everyone turned to face the one steady light in the room. Rudolph swallowed. His nose buzzed louder, responding to the storm flickering outside. Santa cleared his throat. "Well, kid," he said, "this seems like your moment." The room was quiet. No one made a joke. Even the reindeer who'd never let him join their games now looked at him like he was the last lifeboat on the Titanic. He could feel the weight of it. Centuries of tradition, millions of wish lists, an entire myth balancing on his sinuses. And under that, the cold truth, they didn't see him when he was suffering. They only saw him now that he was useful. He thought about saying no. He thought about walking out the door, nose blazing, leaving them scrambling. But he also thought about those kids, the ones who had taped his viral clip to their bedroom walls. The chronically ill teen who wrote, "If he can glow in public, maybe I can exist in public too." He didn't want them to wake up to proof that the world always chooses profit over care. He wanted, selfishly and tenderly, for them to have one night where the miracle won. Rudolph took a breath. The air tasted like snow and burnt wiring. "I'll do it," he said, "but not for free." Santa blinked. "Son, this is Christmas." "Exactly," Rudolph said. "Let's negotiate." They huddled around a hastily pulled-up contract on an elf's tablet, its battery clinging to 3%. Rudolph's demands were simple: full-time employment with benefits, no more seasonal associate nonsense. Medical and mental health care that didn't require 12 forms and a miracle. A reindeer union with Junie as their first outside organizer. A real grievance process that went somewhere other than archive. And, Rudolph added, nose now shining hard enough to leave after images, you apologize in public, not because you got caught. You need to apologize because you were wrong. Santa stared at him in the red glow. "This will cost us," he said quietly. "It's already costing us," Rudolph replied. "You just haven't been the one paying." That was the oh damn moment. The truth hanging in the air like breath in cold, visible, and undeniable. Santa closed his eyes. For a second, he wasn't a brand. He was just an old man who had been told for centuries that tradition mattered more than the people who upheld it. When he opened them, they were wet. "All right, Rudolph," he said. "You drive a hard bargain." Junie leaned forward. "I can get this signed digitally if we hurry. I've got DocuSign and 1 bar of service if I stand on the roof." "Do it," Santa said. He signed. The pen shook just a little. They hit the sky like a thrown wish. The storm was vicious, but Rudolph's nose cut through the dark in a fierce red beam. For the first time, he led the sleigh not as the problem they had to manage, but as the one they allowed to exist on his own terms. The other reindeer flew behind him, hooves pounding clouds, formation tight. "Hey, Rudy," Dasher called through the wind. "For the record, we were jerks." "Yeah," Prancer added, "you didn't deserve that." Rudolph didn't turn around. His eyes were on the future, on the lights of cities below, on the lives he'd never see but was quietly stitching magic into. "It wasn't just you," he said, "but I'll take the apology." Down below, kids slept on couches and floors and in beds shared with siblings, dreaming of improbable joy. Somewhere, an exhausted nurse in scrubs had left cookies on the counter for herself with a note that said, "From Santa to me, because honestly, I earned it." Rudolph guided them all through the storm. He was tired. His nose hurt. His back stung from years of comments and jokes and the weight of always being inspirational when all he wanted was to be left alone in peace sometimes. But up there in the dark, he was not broken. He was bright. And he knew that this wasn't the end. They got through that treacherous storm. Christmas happened, and no one knew how close they were to losing the magic. And in January, when the snow turned gray and the magic fog of the holidays dissolved into regular misery, the real work began. First, there were union meetings and tense negotiations, and one spectacular meltdown where Blitzen stormed out, yelling about pension plans. New ramps were installed. There was a new neurodivergent and disabled reindeer resource group, which Rudolph hated the name of, but loved the coffee and company. Santa held a press conference, hands shaking as he read from prepared notes. "We failed Rudolph," he said. "We failed many of our workers. We treated difference as a liability until it became a marketing opportunity, and that is not what Christmas is supposed to be about." Junie clipped that soundbite, of course. It became an Elf Talk audio trend where people posted pictures of themselves before and after leaving toxic jobs. Rudolph watched it all, nose on low. Sometimes he still felt like an object, a glowing mascot, a story people told to feel better about systems that still crushed plenty of others. But then he'd walk into the break room and see a new reindeer with a crooked leg laughing with Junie about organizing, or an elf wearing noise-canceling earmuffs without shame. There was a poster someone had taped over the old "Productivity is Magic" sign. It was handwritten, a little crooked, and it said, "If your light only matters when they can use it, that's not magic, that's extraction." Rudolph snorted. He turned his nose up, not in pride, but in refusal, and let it glow brighter. Outside, the world was still a mess. Housing was still impossible. Healthcare was still a labyrinth. Capitalism still had its boot gently but firmly on everyone's throat. But in one freezing, sprawling warehouse at the top of the world, the workers had a union. The boss had learned how to say "I'm sorry" into a microphone. And the weird kid with the wrong kind of brightness had led them, not just through one night of fog, but into the uncomfortable, necessary daylight. And all the reindeer learned, very slowly and with many committee meetings, that the point was never that Rudolph's nose was special. The point was that no one deserved to be left in the dark. Thanks for watching. We hope you liked our little messed-up Christmas tale. While you're here, check out our other shorts, warm your cocoa, maybe even like or subscribe. Not to pressure you, but the almighty algorithm is basically the ghost of Christmas reach, and it decides how many more people will see this based on what you do next. Our festive fate is in your hands. We are a community with a Patreon and tons of articles, even a Substack. Come find us and bring your holiday chaos with you.